Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go! Hey everybody, welcome to this installment of Growing the Game with Ballsy. I got a great interview coming up here with Mason Nyhus, who... Hey everybody, welcome to this installment of Growing the Game with Ballsy. I got a great interview coming up here with Mason Nyhus, who returns to Saskatoon, the Regina kid who spent 7 years of his life in Saskatoon as a Husky, is back there as the associate head coach and passing game coordinator, leaving UBC. So we'll talk to him about that as he is being fast-tracked in the coaching world, which is kind of similar to what we're seeing in a lot of different leagues. The NFL was like Sean McVay and some of these young hotshot coaches. Mark Killam now with the Elkamos. You've got, of course, Buck Pierce now, who has cut his teeth as an OC, but he is now coach and offensive coordinator with the BC Lions. So we'll talk to Mason Nyhus coming up here in a bit. Wherever you're checking this out, however you're checking it out, live or later, thanks for doing so. Show's brought to you by a few of our great sponsors, Ward Tirecraft, 101 Dudney Avenue in Regina and in Saskatoon. Go in, say hi to Michael Barth, say Ballsy sent you, you get 10% off. That easy. Also, District Brewing with their Super Squeeze Seltzer, a Super Squeeze Seltzer's Mango Lime, Passion Fruit Lime. Thanks to Tim Young, Joe, and the gang for getting on board. I really do appreciate it. And AGT Foods Canada, Murad Al-Khatib, his brother Omar, Murad's wife Michelle, always supporting the community and supporting this podcast. Thanks to them for getting on board. Paul Waldo at Royal LePage, getting the real estate game with the three-time Grey Cup champ, 306-502-5355. And my good friends, Nicole and Dean Gerhardt over at Gerhardt Studios. If you need some website design for your social media, for your company or personal social media. Also, they got great still photography with Nicole. She does a bang-up job. Talked to Adam, who was there. Adam's getting to financial planning. He was there doing a photo shoot. We took a couple of pictures together. That is going to be the home of the Our Balls Are Bigger postgame show in 2025, the Gerhardt Studios. We might do a couple from my home studio here, but primarily it'll be shot there, which I'm really excited about. So thanks to Gerhardt Studios for getting on board. All right, so let's get down to business here. And this is kind of I don't say special edition. I wasn't planning to do an extra one here. As I'm taping it, it's Sunday. And I just got some stuff I wanted to get to that happened in the week leading up to this Sunday. So last week, we'll call this the gospel according to Ballsy. Let's start with the Riders. Trevor Harris signing on the dotted line. It's a 1-year deal. Great deal for the Riders and apparently a great deal for Trevor. It's kind of, from what I'm kind of picking up, reading the tea leaves, probably, around $300,000 mark, probably some incentives to get him up to, where he was last year at $490,000. He's made around $1 million in 2 years as the Riders quarterback, but those came with a lot of injuries. In fact, like I've said before, Trevor Harris has not dressed for all 18 games since 2015, and he's not getting any younger. He'll be 39 when the season starts, but he is the West Division All-Star after 11 games, or playing in only 11 games, last year. So give Jeremy O'Day credit if he got a team-friendly deal with Harris here. Good on him. Good on Harris. Riders cannot go wrong with that, having that top-shelf man, passer, teammate in the locker room. But you need, as I've said all along, to find the next guy or have a reliable guy waiting in the wings. This team has to get winning. They have to get winning. And I know they were 9-8-1, but let's be honest, it was a really down year in the West. Riders caught a break that way. Not often can you go winless in 8 and still have a home playoff game. So there's work to be done. And part of that work is finding a guy that can step in, not if, but when Trevor Harris misses a game or 2 or 5. Who's it going to be? Is it Shea Patterson? Is it Jack Cohn? Patterson was okay, but he's 29, I think 29-ish. Not that that's old, but is he a guy that you can, if Harris went down, can you win with him? Can you win over the long term with him? The jury's still out there. Cohn's a ways away. There's a guy sitting out there named Jake Mayer that I tweeted about got 7,000 views, and everybody's pissed off because, well, a lot of people are pissed off. No, Ballsy, the guy sucks. Well, Jake Maier threw for almost 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns. Yes, he had 14 interceptions. And yes, I'll give it to you. Some of his interceptions come at bad times, but every quarterback's taken a turn like that. His stats have gone up from last year, and he did it on a crappier Calgary team this year. They weren't great the year before when they were 6-12 and got into the playoffs because the Riders soiled the sheets. And they were worse this year, missed the playoffs for the first time since Jesus was a carpenter. And Jake Maier, his stats were better. Now, Calgary's moved on. Probably got PJ Walker coming in as the backup there. I don't know the status on Matthew Schultz. I think he could be a free agent. He was in their arsenal at quarterback too. So if you were ranking the backups right now, you'd probably go Cody, McLeod Bethel-Thompson, Jake Maier, Nick Arbuckle, who won the Grey Cup MVP, Chris Streveler, Schultz. Those would be probably your top 5-6 backup quarterbacks. If you're the Riders, I think you try to get Jake Maier on a deal. He's 27 years old. He'll be 28 when the season is going on this coming year. He's been coached by a good coach in Dave Dickinson. I thought one of the commenters on my tweet said, "Oh, Dave, he can't move as good as Trevor Harris." Okay, before the knee injuries, Trevor Harris had all the mobility of this microphone, okay? That's the truth. He's not exactly Trey Ford. So I'm not buying that on the outset, or off the top. But Jake Maier actually got more nimble last year. He lost some weight. He was rolling out of the pocket. He's not going to run for 100 yards in a game, but he can extend plays from the pocket. He's got a good pocket presence that way, I believe. Not spectacular, but not bad. I think there's something to work with here, and he knows Mark Mueller. That should be the first guy they're in on. If they weren't going to go get Trey Ford, as I said, they should have tried to get had he gone to free agency. Then Jake Maier's the next best candidate. That's how I feel. Speaking of, and Cody's not coming. I can't see Cody Fajardo coming here just the way that it ended. I know it's a new coaching staff, but I can't see it. Cody will either stay in Montreal on a team-friendly deal with a lot of incentives if Davis Alexander drops the ball, or I could see him in Edmonton backing up Trey Ford under Mark Killam. That's where I could see. Buck Pierce and Nathan Rourke. That's going to be an interesting combination now. We had Nathan on the show. He is pretty pumped to have Buck Pierce in the building, a guy that played for the BC Lions, played the position. So he's kind of the coach, OC, quarterbacks coach / counselor. So it's all in one wrapping paper there, Buck Pierce with Nathan Rourke. I think that could be a good tandem. Trey Ford stays in Edmonton, a 3-year deal, and if he reaches all his incentives and everything, tops out at $1.2 million. I think that's a good move for Trey. If he feels like there's a new staff and a new direction, and there is going to be a new staff. Killam's there. Jordan Maximic comes over, and isn't that awesome? I love it. I'm a Canadian. I love Canadiana in the CFL. I love the Americans, but I love Canadiana. And you've got Trey Ford, Mark Killam, Jordan Maximic, a Canadian combination. I can't wait. By the way, speaking of Mark Killam, speaking of Buck Pierce, they're going to be on the show this week at the same time. We're going to have an episode called Coach's Corner. So we're going to get both of those guys on the show. Some other stuff here in this Gospel According to Ballsy. The 3 best versions of the sport of football: the CFL, U Sports football, and American college football. Did you see this? So Georgia beats Texas 22-19 in overtime to win the SEC title. First time the SEC championship game went into overtime. Starting quarterback Carson Beck goes out with a right elbow injury. Okay, so he's out. Gunnar Stockton, the backup, leads them. He's only played in garbage time when the team's been up. So he leads them to overtime, and in overtime, he's running for a first down near the 4-yard line, and the Texas safety slips my mind, but he's number 4. I remember that number because the kid was a torpedo flying around. Rocks this guy with a clean hit. They initially called it targeting, but it wasn't. Stockton's helmet goes flying in the air. His knees buckle back. I thought, oh, the guy's concussed, or he tore his knee. They reviewed it. It wasn't targeting. It was a legal, hellacious hit, a real slobber knocker, as they like to say, or Jim Ross, the wrestling announcer, would say. Stockton had to leave the game for one play. So Beck comes in, the starting quarterback, his right arm dangling. He had ice on it. It was all wrapped up on his elbow. He comes in, takes the handoff, turns and gives it to Trevor Etienne, who had the injured ribs going into the game, and he plows in for a touchdown in overtime. George is off to the playoffs. Texas is going too. Excuse me there. Texas is going too. But, yeah, man, outstanding. Then I'm watching the Oiler game, and my son goes, oh, they're going to overtime. Clemson and SMU in the ACC championship. I turn it on. Well, it's not in overtime. There's 16 seconds. Clemson gets into field goal range, and they're freshmen. Maybe he's peeing his football pants. Goes out and boots a 56-yard field goal right down Main Street. Probably would have been good from 60. He just gets enveloped by his teammates and fans, and Clemson wins the ACC championship game. Both those teams are going to the playoffs as well. I think there are 9 Canadians in all playing in the first ever 12-team playoff system, including Nathan Rourke's brother Curtis Rourke from Indiana. David Benefield, a friend of the show, his son Ty, Boise State safety, he's in it. So yeah, there's a lot of great guys from Canada playing NCAA football. Also, Chuba Hubbard. His Carolina Panthers lost today, hard-fought game to Philadelphia, but Chuba Hubbard becomes just the second Canadian to rush for over 1,000 yards. The first in his rookie year was Ruben Mays from North Battleford. Back in 1986, he was the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year back in the day. He's in the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame. And Chuba Hubbard from the Edmonton area, Carolina Panther. Really representing the red and white south of the border. Oh, let's talk about this for a second. This golden bat rule. Did you, of the 4 major sports, Rob Manfred is probably the worst, the commissioner of baseball. He has floated the idea of the golden bat rule. So let's go through a scenario, okay? I was reading about this on The Athletic, which I subscribe to. Great publication or website for just $9 a month. What if a team could choose one at-bat in every game to send its best hitter to the plate, even if it wasn't that guy's turn to hit? That's the golden at-bat concept in a nutshell. It's just a thought right now. So let's not get too bent out of shape. But say there are 2 outs in the 10th inning in October. The Yankees and Guardians are tied. It's not Juan Soto who's due up. It's, Oswaldo Cabrera, okay? Except the Yankees say, bullshit. We're going to use our golden bat here, or golden at bat here, and set up Soto. Then home run magic happens. Now, there's a couple of ways to look at this. Each team gets to pick one at bat anytime in the game, but only once, to use the golden at-bat card. So maybe you save it for the end, or you're in the 5th and you got the bases loaded and it's a key point in the game, or maybe you use it in the 2nd inning, but just one time. So there's a bit of strategy involved there if they do decide to do this rule. Or each team gets a golden at-bat per game, right? Except only in the 7th inning or later. So you can only do it from the 7th inning on for late game dramatic heroics. Nobody really knows how this is going to go if it even happens, to be honest. And like anything, it'll be tried in the minor leagues. To me, it's too gimmicky. Do these people in baseball really want to turn this thing into reality TV? Now, I know reality TV has better ratings than baseball, but what's next? We might as well just throw obstacles in the outfield for the outfielders, like inflatable pools of water, or somebody's out in the outfield kind of banging them with a rubber foam bat while they're trying to catch a ball. How stupid are we getting here? Like baseball did a good job with the pitch clock, with the amount of times you could throw back to first, with the pitching changes and you got to face 3 batters and all that stuff. I think they've done some good changes there, but let's just leave it now. Can we just leave it? Rob Manfred, you are an idiot. But I guess I got people talking about baseball because I'm talking about baseball, 17 days before Christmas. I'll tell you who got a nice present. Mason Nyhus got a nice present. Yes, Nyhus is going to join us next. He is the assistant head coach and passing game coordinator for the team that he was probably the greatest quarterback in that team's history, the U of S Huskies. He's joining me next. This is Ballsy Uncut. Okay, here with Mason Nyhus. Now, listen. You're going to be an associate head coach and passing game coordinator with the U of S Huskies. I told you what time we're doing this interview, and you were like 5 or 6 minutes late. The game doesn't start after the first quarter, Nyhus.
No, that's fair. Happy wife, happy life. Had a little brunch date this morning. Good coffee walk. It was great, but probably not starting on the best foot for sure.
Hey, let's get to that first. Football, take football and put it over there for a second. I didn't even realize you were getting engaged, man. That not like you should phone me first and ask, but your dad didn't even tell me, the son of a bitch. So how did that go down? Like, I know you got a great. What's her name again? Kirsten or what's
Kirsten? Yeah.
Okay, so how did you propose? Like, what did you do there?
Well, actually, me and Kirsten went on a vacation before we were doing the national or world championship flag football in Finland. Yeah. We had Paris set up, Italy. So I was actually typing on Google non-cliche places in Paris to propose. So I didn't want the Eiffel Tower shop. I was like, in Paris, got to do it there. So yeah, got engaged over the summer, and yeah, it's going well.
What, did you pick the ring out yourself, or did she kind of say what she wanted, or what?
Yeah, I had a bit of help. She would send me some inspiration, I would say, and then at the end of the day, had to get over to the ring shop, pick it out myself, and hide it for a couple days until we were off to Europe. So yeah, it was a fun time. Okay,
but I'm an investigative journalist, an investigative podcaster here. Yeah, so you did it in Paris, but like, how did you do it? What did you do? Did you surprise her? Like, you don't have to give me all the details, but give me some.
For sure.
It's not time for this laissez-faire coach speak to give 110%. Like, what did you do?
Well, it was. She's very skeptical. Like, I'm sure she probably had an idea it was happening. I'm sure, but you know what? I tried my best. We went actually. It was a garden in Paris. I think it was called the Luxembourg Garden, something like that. So we were just kind of moseying around, and I wanted to get the video or picture of it for sure. So like the typical, set up the iPhone, put it on video mode, and like, hey, let's take a picture, and you screenshot the video. So that's what I did, and I did it at that point. So it's still got the memory with us.
That's awesome, man. That's good. And that's the best, because now you got to somehow save that in the iCloud or something, because I know in my family we've taken so many fucking pictures and we can't find them. Do you know what I mean? So or they never got developed. So yeah, that's one for. So when are you getting married? Have you decided that yet?
Yeah, it'll be in April of 2026. So still, we're gonna do the 2026 route. We got my sister's wedding, her brother's wedding, and then her best friend's wedding, all coming up in 2025. So we thought we would hold off during that crazy year and do it 2026.
Okay, so wait a minute. Just wait a minute. I've just decided that I used to, like, your dad and I always talk and we're best friends, but I'm like, I didn't even know your sister was getting married. Like, what the hell kind of friend is your dad?
Obviously not a good one,
Not a
apparently.
very
Not a
good one.
good
No,
one.
great salesman, horrible friend. Actually, he's a good guy. Okay, so let's talk about you, man. So, how did this shake down? Like, my son Ethan is a friend of yours, and he sent you a
Yep.
text saying congratulations, and you sent him one back saying, "How did you know?" And he was like, "Now that makes sense," because he thought I thought it was about football, but I was thinking about, like, he was thinking about your engagement. So you kept it under wraps. Your dad didn't tell me shit, but I get that. But
Yeah.
so how did this go down?
Yeah, me and Floyd just kind of talked briefly about if I'd be open to coming out, and obviously that's home, like Saskatoon. I played 7 football seasons there, so was there a long time. So we kind of talked a little bit, and they had the job posting come out, so I applied, and it was hard, not gonna lie. Like, obviously it was an easy decision to want to coach at Sask and whatnot, but obviously I had a great time at UBC as well, and I really enjoyed the people here and my experiences. So it's not like it was just like okay, let's go. It was definitely a thought process. Talked a lot about it, and then once the position came open and the details were kind of ironed out what it was going to be, it was just such a good opportunity that I couldn't really say no to it.
So Mason, though, there's life. You just got engaged. You got
Yeah.
Kirsten is a very brilliant girl, from what I've been told, and she has a great job in North Van. So how does that look for long distance? Because I've done long distance in my life. It's not a real good setup. Not trying to be negative about it, but what does that look like? What does the conversation look like, and how are you going forward in that side of your life?
Yeah, 100%. Well, we've done that long distance stuff quite a bit, just in regards to me playing football in Saskatoon, her playing soccer in Regina, and then coming out to Vancouver after she was done before me. So it's nothing new for us really, but she would stay here for the first year, and then we just kind of reevaluate and play it by ear and be fluid with it and just be flexible. So that's kind of the preliminary plan. We'll kind of see where it goes.
So Flory, from what I've been told, is going to let you kind of work remotely from Van City until closer to the season, right? Like that's going to help out with your life and stuff, right?
Yeah, just get me set up a little bit. So I'll be working out of Vancouver primarily for the first, like, this kind of spring winter time right now. And obviously in the off season you want to talk with guys, but I come from a fortunate situation where I basically know and are good friends with everybody on the team currently. And then obviously I'm just recruiting and doing things of that nature here. So yeah, it's not too bad of a setup.
So, what was that like to tell Mr. Nil, hey, I'm going away? Like, did they try to keep you in Vancouver?
Yeah, they obviously wanted me to stay. Like, I think me and Neil have a really good relationship, and I'm pretty fortunate with that. And I have a good relationship with basically everyone on the staff here. So they definitely wanted me to stay. But at the end of the day, Coach Neil was super understanding. It's not like he's new to football. He's done this. He's been in situations like this as well. So he definitely understands how it works. And I mean, yeah, he wished me well, and he wanted me to stay. But at the end of the day, you just kind of got to make the best decision for you and your career.
So as a kid growing up in Regina, Riffle Royal, all the under 18 Canada Cup accolades, all that type of stuff, and then probably the most decorated quarterback in U of S history, just shy of, Heck Crichton or Vanier Cup, which I think you got ripped off maybe in both situations. A couple plays go here or there, you're a champion as a player, and then I think you should have been a Heck Crichton trophy winner, but that's for another day. But where I'm going with this is, you had a shot to go with the Riders. You decided, I just don't have the right feeling about this. I just think I'm better off to go coach and teach. When did you decide that coaching was probably your future? When you're like, okay, this is what I want to do. Was there some point in those 7 years at the U of S where you're like, this is what I want to do?
For sure. Honestly, I was the weirdo when I was a kid that I always wanted to coach. I think I was a hockey guy before a football guy. I think I got a hockey whiteboard when I was 12 years old for Christmas because I like drawing up power play breakouts or stuff like that. So I've always been like that. I've always had a knack for it. And then I went to university. Obviously, I was going into business, kind of following my brother and my father and all them who are in the business side of things. And near the end of my business degree, I was like, I think I'm pretty good at this football thing. I enjoy it. I like it. I spend every waking hour on it. So why not go into education, get an education degree so I can also coach and pursue that as well. So I try to treat it like a career probably around 2020, 2021 when I transitioned into the College of Education.
I had a few people who know both of us, but know me and know like I've always been a promoter of yours. But they're like, "Isn't it a little early for him to get such a prestigious position?" And I said, "Well, I can't really speak on that, but I will say this." Towards the end of his career, maybe the last 2 years, maybe I'm even narrowing it, maybe it was bigger time, you actually had a desk in the coach's office, so you were kind of like an on-field coach at times, which is true. So in that way, it's kind of almost a seamless transition, and I think it speaks to, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth or Scott Flory's mouth because I haven't talked to him about this, but it speaks to his his trust in you that you can take a job like this.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I quarterbacked there from 2019 to 2022. And 2019, when you're a young quarterback or a young starter in general, you're just kind of like getting going, watching film, doing your thing, not really knowing your recipe to success. And then 2020 had a great offseason, watching a ton of film and whatnot during that, like, COVID year. And then 2021, I feel like I really took on a role where I, like you said, I could go and sit in the coach's room and watch film with Flory or Jer for 4 hours before meetings, and I did that almost every day. So they know my process and how I'm kind of wired. And then I was, like we talked about Coach Nil and UBC, I was extremely fortunate to be put in a position of being the quarterback coach, but also kind of running the sideline operations, making sure everything's on game day sound, building relationships that way. So I've been put in positions at UBC, which have really helped me to get to this spot. And then at the same time, it's one of those things where, yeah, I'm 26 right now, but hey, young guys are making it in football, and that's how lots of it goes. There's Josh Donnelly with Regina. He's calling plays as their OC. I think he's 24. Michael Falls was the head coach at Laurier at 29, and he just went to a Vanier Cup. So it's not outrageous with age. It's just one of those things where you just got to have some trust and build relationships as much as possible.
Well, you raise a good point. I like that. Like, you look at Mark Killam now, former U of A guy with the Edmonton Elkamos, as I like to call him. Buck Pierce is back as a young guy. Like, I like the veteran guys. Being an older guy, I don't want to push those guys to the curb. Let's not do that. But also, I like the new blood, and that's the way football is going. But let me ask you, is there like, I don't know how to put this. Is it a little unsettling or a little, I guess it's familiar to go back to the U of S, but let's be honest. You're now kind of the guy in waiting whenever that is. That's what it's looked like, right? Like you're the 26-year-old associate head coach, passing game coordinator. You come in there in a kind of an established staff. Is there like an animosity to get over, or like was there any uncomfortableness on your side walking into something like that?
Not really at all, honestly. Like, I can genuinely call every single person on that staff. I have all their numbers. I would consider them all friends. I mean, some of them I would consider some of my best friends. So it wasn't too much animosity whatsoever. I mean, every time we've played them when I've been at UBC, I've hung out with those guys for an hour before the game, chop it up. So still have maintained great relationships with all the people on staff at U of S, and not just the coaches, but the players as well. I mean, like, all the guys I've played with, I've kept in touch with. I still talk to lots of those guys almost every day. So, yeah, nothing like that. It was pretty smooth coming in.
So you're you know football. You're a brilliant mind when it comes to that. My son said he's probably one of the top 3 to 5 dudes I've ever met. So, and I take what my son Ethan says with a lot of there's a lot behind when my son says he likes a guy or doesn't like a guy. He's a good judge of character. So even though your dad clearly is a shitty friend, as we've established, he's a really good guy. Nobody says anything bad about him. So I would put you in that category.
Thank you.
Which I think, that's high praise, because your dad is a good guy, except a shitty friend.
Yeah.
But what do you think your strength is? Like, besides coaching, would it be? To me, I would say you're going to be a great recruiter of men.
Yeah, I would like to think so. I think my number one ability, even involved with coaching X's and O's, is building relationships. I really think I do a good job in that, and I value it extremely highly. I think it's kind of an underrated skill to build and maintain authentic relationships with people, and I think you can't really be successful without it in coaching, in any career, moving up and down. You have to build authentic relationships with a ton of people and maintain those relationships. So I think I do a great job in that, and that'll help me connect with players, connect with other coaches, and also obviously connect with recruits and parents. So I really think I will do a good job in that for sure.
Okay, let's talk quickly about last year's situation with Rooker. It wasn't quite the year I thought he would have. How much do you put that on yourself as a coach? I know you can only do so much, and they got to translate it on the field. How much do you put that on yourself? What kind of went? I don't want to say wrong, but how did you evaluate that season with him?
Yeah, 100%. I think it was tough. I mean, for sure, I put at any point there's responsibility partially on player, partially on coach. Like it's never all on a player, and it's never all on a coach. There's always somewhere in between, and sometimes it's more or less depending on the situation. I mean, first and foremost, we got off to a slow start last year, and I personally I wasn't even there, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so you can put a lot on me on that one because I was off in Finland, obviously, and wasn't even there throughout training camp or week one. So that was I felt bad about that, putting Garrett in that situation. And then, truthfully, his yards were good, his percentages were good. We just had a bit too many turnovers, and we didn't throw a lot of touchdowns. And it was one of those situations where we got down inside the 5-yard line, and it was Isaiah Knight, Dane Kapler's show, and that kind of hurt his stats a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I wouldn't change anything about Rooker. I mean, to me, who knows if he comes back next year? He's an extremely bright guy. He wants to go to med school. He, to me, is going to go down, specifically if he doesn't come back, is going to go down as one of the best underrated quarterbacks in U Sports, in my opinion. I think he's an extreme talent. I think he's an extremely great leader, smart kid, and does everything right. So, you know what, he's had a heck of a career. And last year, I mean, I guess it's my new employer, but we were up 9 with 1:20 left, and they had the ball on their own 40-yard line. Yeah. And you come on the field, down 5 with 22 seconds left. Like, that's a tough pill to swallow. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was a failure by any stretch. Like, I think he had a good year, but obviously there was some stuff to improve on my side and his.
So talk about your new quarterback, Ammerud. I think this guy has, like, watching his games, like, he's got some great talent. It's just consistency. Like, he can throw for 300, and then it can. And listen, I don't cut kids down. You're a kid to me. Like, it's amateur football. It's not pros. So I'm not bashing Rooker or any kids. Okay, yeah. My kid's in the same boat. But what do you see from this guy potential wise?
I mean, I've known him for a long time. Like, he was a recruit in the 2020 COVID class. So. I remember, I'll never forget, we were redoing the turf at Griffith Stadium, and it would have been maybe the first or second practice. And this kid's like, we usually do like challenges, like let's hit the crossbar. Yeah. He's like, you guys think I can hit the crossbar from here? We're like 50 yards out. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. Launches it over the goalpost. I'm like, oh, looking for you. Hopefully I'm not losing my job. So nonetheless, this kid has a rocket for an arm, and the talent is, I don't think anyone can debate the raw talent. And I think he's made a big step this season from 2023 to 24 in regards to decision making. I mean, you can just see in the turnovers. Obviously, they still want to bring him down a bit, but they astronomically dropped. So it was one of those things where I think he made strides. And it's unfortunate that, like, the last game, it was a tough one, right? Like, he has some turnovers. No one's going to shy away from what happened. It was an unfortunate situation, but at the same time, it was one game out of the year. I understand it was the last one, so that's what people remember. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think he made a big stride. And I think it's going to be one of those things where we're just going to have to get in the film room, and I'm going to try to convince him to be a film junkie like myself, and we're just going to work through it like that, just so he has an unmatched confidence in what he's seeing on game days. And that's really the goal, is building confidence, and confidence comes from experience, which he's had success in past experiences, and then watching film.
So I, in my new job in sales, like your dad, I pick out words, right? And so you said weirdo earlier. I was a weirdo when I was a kid. Do you think you got to be a little bit of a weirdo to be a coach in a good way? Like, I'm not saying like, weirdo kind of has a negative connotation, but you just kind of got to be out there. You got to be a little different to be a coach. You got to want to work 19, 20 hours. You got to want to, sleep under your desk at times.
For sure. You have to have a bit of psycho and a bit of, like, it's a different level of passion for your job, and everyone, that's why I want to be a coach. I mean, everyone says try to do what you love and, like, never work a day in your life sort of deal. And it's the same mindset I have with coaching. I just think, like, you can't be a successful coach unless you have that deep passion for it. You just won't be, right? Like, it's just hard to match it if you're not constantly thinking about it. Sometimes Kirsten, I'll be thinking about, we'll be on a walk, and I'll just zone out, and she'll be like, you thinking about football again? I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, like something came to me. Like, I don't know. But that happens a lot, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending.
Is she a football fan? Like, you see, my girlfriend, who, like, my significant other, she calls them costumes, not uniforms. She doesn't care. Like, she as long as I'm at the base of the couch rubbing her feet. I can watch as much football as I want. Is Kirsten like that? Like, is she a football junkie, or does she? It's kind of just there. Something you do.
I would say in between. Like, I wouldn't say she's a junkie. Like, she's not like, we're not drawing up Tampa 2 on the whiteboard, but we're also like, she enjoys watching games. Like, she would like, obviously I'm a San Francisco 49ers fan, but living in Vancouver, we're just down the road from Seattle. So like, she loves going down to those games and whatnot. So she definitely enjoys watching it, but I wouldn't, we're not drawing up quarters or anything.
And she's an athlete, so she gets it.
Exactly.
Okay, so, I want to bring this up to you. Your dad said, I'm embarrassed that I didn't know how good U Sports was. But, I mean, he shouldn't be embarrassed. Others shouldn't be embarrassed because we just don't promote it. I like to talk about it. But when you think about it, I watched American college football this weekend. Freshman at Clemson hits a 56-yard field goal. The quarterback at Georgia, the backup, got absolutely torpedoed by the Texas safety, who, by the way, was the best player on the field, just throwing his body around there. I love that. And then the starting quarterback, who injured his elbow, has to come in, his arms dangling, hands it off to a guy with bruised ribs or whatever, scores a touchdown, they win. Like, between college football, U Sports football, and the CFL, those are the three best versions of the game on the planet.
That's a strong stance. I like it. I mean, 100%. College, like, watching Division I championship football yesterday, it's electric, right? Like, it doesn't get much better. And I think every football fan, like, you can have the historical people not like it, but I love the 12-game playoff that they're moving to in Division I. Like, I think it's going to, home playoff games make sense. Like, I feel like that makes sense. So that's going to be awesome. And then obviously the Canadian game, that's a passion we both have. Like, just the actual flow of it and, like, the operation, the scheme behind it, I personally love. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things. I was actually talking to Kyle Borsa, one of my good friends, and he was talking to his dad, Corey, about, obviously, the news of me going to Saskatoon. He's like, I love U Sports football. Like, it's so entertaining. And the storylines are entertaining.
Well, the Rams were dead. The Rams were dead. Like, we're talking flat line. I was in Calgary getting ready to watch your old team, the Huskies, play Calgary, and we were checking on the scores because Alberta had to beat Regina, and they were up 22-4. I said, it's freaking over. That's awesome. Your game tomorrow is going to count. And then we went away from it, came back, and the Rams won. And
Christian Katende, baby.
And let's be honest. Let's be honest. If the Rams convert that 3rd and 1, they probably beat Laval, and they probably win the Vanier Cup in a year where they were dead.
100%. Like, and I have a lot of good friends, like Carter Susik, JD, McConkey. I really have a lot of good friends at U of R, and their coaching staff did a fantastic job of getting that team mentally right going into Alberta and through the playoffs. But, obviously, there was no Can West team in the Vanier Cup or whatnot, but I think one of the biggest winners was Can West football out of the season in the playoffs. Like, you had a team that went 3-5 and ended up 5-6, but, like, they were down to Alberta, came back in the regular season, down to Manitoba, came back, down to Sask, came back, and they had Laval on the brink. It took an Arnaud Desjardins, like, legacy drive to win that game. And, hey, you're looking at a team that went 3-5 in the Can West to go win the Vanier Cup potentially. So it just shows the competition in this conference and the parity, and it's exciting football. Every game you have no idea, which is awesome.
And lastly, I'll let you go here on this one. You shot a commercial while you were in Finland for the Worlds or whatever, and a flag football commercial. I think they're going to air on NBC if they haven't already, but I think it's going to be during Super Bowl week, if I'm not mistaken, because the NFL is big into that. So my question to you is, with what you're doing now, like, were you going to have a chance to try out for the Canadian Olympic team given what you did, or be a coach? Like, how would this affect that going forward? Because that was something you were interested in, even though you'd be, 30-ish, 31 when it's Olympic time.
Yeah, Olympics I'll be 30. So, yeah, a couple of things. One, I think just moving to a full-time coach actually helps me quite a bit. Like, my job is to coach, like, whether that is what it is, like, there's room in that, but it's actually a lot more flexible, at least in the off season, than teaching is, for example. Like, it just is. So, there's definitely opportunities. I've been talking to quite a few people at Football Canada just in regards to what that'll look like in regards to the actual athletic team building side and the coaching side. Mm-hmm. I don't know this from anyone from Football Canada. I don't want to speculate, but how I envision the men's side of things going is it's going to be your NFL players that are Canadian. Like it'll be your Benjamin St. Juice's, it'll be your Dean Leonard's. That's what I'm assuming.
Holland.
Yeah,
From,
like Javon Holland, Chuba Hubbard, like Chase Claypool. Like it's gonna be those types. Like that's just like. And if you're Canadian, if you're Joe Schmo from Weyburn, Saskatchewan, watching the Olympics, you don't want to see, respectfully, Joe Schmo from the University of Manitoba playing. You want to see Chase Claypool, Javon Holland. Like you're like, that's likely what you want to see. So that's how that's going to go. So for myself, obviously, if I get a call to play quarterback, 100%, that'd be awesome. But I have been talks with Football Canada about coaching more likely. And so that would be more likely the path, being that I was the OC and quarterback at Finland, kind of pulling off the Jackie Moon player, coach, captain, pop scene sensation. But so I'll likely go that route. And so, there's been talks about that for sure.
Man, I'll tell you what, I am truly happy for you. You deserve it. And the world's your oyster now in terms of football, because I know you were big. You're like, okay, because we had talked personally. You're like, Ballsy, can you help me out? Maybe like talk to coaches and stuff. And I know I got you in contact with Tressman and those guys. But when you think about it, now, and I know you're focused on the Huskies, but when you think about it, who knows where this ends up for you? You could be at the U of S for 25, 30 years. It could go with your connections with Scott Flory, Mark Tressman. You never know where this can go. And actually, my son said, Mason's in a better spot than a lot of guys that were my coaches at D1 school. Like when you think about it, you're in one of the top programs now in Canada.
Yeah, I'm extremely fortunate. I mean, and I do appreciate the kind words. It's exciting, man. Like, and don't get me wrong, like I respect every single university program in Canada, no doubt about it. But there's a select few programs that are blue blood programs, and it just means more. You know what I mean? It just means more. Carries weight, and there's no doubt in my mind, obviously I'm biased, I played there, that Saskatchewan's one of those true blue bloods. Like you go, if you're at the Hardy Cup game against Regina, it's standing room only in November in Saskatchewan. So it just means more. So it's definitely fortunate, and it's exciting looking to the future.
Well, I'm happy for you, but the jury's still out. Number one, you're late for an interview, which is terrible. If I'm a parent and you're showing up at my house late, fuck you. You're not getting my kid.
I texted you. I gave you the warning. I might be late. I said there's a 5-minute buffer. I hit the 5-minute buffer.
Okay, and secondly, I gotta really think about your judgment. Look at that hat. Take that shitty hat off. Like, what the hell is that?
Okay, are you still a Chargers fan, Ballsy?
Oh, hey.
I'm not taking this from a Chargers fan.
Hey, 8-4, baby. The best. I'm going to tell you something right now, bro. You're right. They haven't won. But if you used to coach your team, there's no better culture builder in pro or college football than Jim Harbaugh.
I agree. I'm a Jim Harbaugh guy. Former Niner.
Yeah.
I got to watch him coach at Michigan versus Minnesota game when he was down in college. Huge Jim Harbaugh guy. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we're buddies. Take your dad though. When I get off this call, I'll be calling your dad and telling him what a crappy friend he is.
And tell him I back it. Great guy, crappy friend.
Okay. See you, buddy. Take care.